Yeah, that looks good. Whoops, I activated ramp. Don't activate ramp. And just bring up the intensity all the way up to 1. Bring down the specularity down to 0.1. And that should be fine. So already this mushroom is looking a lot more like a mushroom. However, we can, whoops, where am I? Okay. If you go into wireframe mode using Z, you can see that there's these two lines here, which are the eyes. Now they're just floating in front of the rest of the stem, so that's not good. So let's go into the modifiers panel, select your eyes, and minimize subsurf, and add a shrink wrap modifier under the deform column, and set the target over to mushroom stem. However, if you go back into solid mode, you can see that it's maybe just a bit too close. So change the offset, increase it by 0.01. If you check, it's not too far from the thing, or actually 0.001. Yeah, that's a lot better. So that's really just stuck right on there. So that's perfect. These we don't need to change, so let's just minimize these and not touch them anymore. And okay, so next is the unwrapping of the cap. Let me just bring down these subsurf levels so I can work a bit faster. Yeah, that's better. So select your cap, tap into edit mode, tab and not tap. I'll get another drink of water. Okay, so that's tab into edit mode. That's better. And what we're going to do here is add a seam. And we actually only need to add one seam. Now, a seam is where the object, the mesh, will separate when you unwrap it. A bit like a paper cube, where the folds are is solid mesh, but where the individual pieces of paper meet, where you have to actually tape them together or something, is where there's a seam. Could also explain this by, say you have your calculator next to you, there's a seam where the two pieces of plastic meet, and that's exactly what that is. So we're actually going to add one seam. So select this edge loop right here, the bottom external circumference ring, and just press Ctrl E, which brings up the edges menu, and press mark seam. So that makes it the edge like reddish orange, reddish pink, some sort of color, but it tells you that there's a seam there. So that's perfect. Now let's add a material to this mushroom. So go into the materials panel, click add new, just rename this our mushroom. Whoops, mushroom underscore cap. Now the last time I actually said mushroom underscore cap underscore red, but since I already have the red in the name, it's fine the way it is. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with my throat. Probably too long talking about mushrooms, silver mushrooms. So, okay, let's get back to this. Change the diffuse over to red, which will make it nice and mushroomy. Yeah, that looks good. Just so we can tell the difference, and bring this down to 0.2. That should be fine. And now the only thing left to do before unwrapping it is nothing. Okay, I'll do that later. So just tab back into edit mode, select your mesh by pressing A. A is a toggle, so you can either deselect everything or select everything. So just select everything, press U, unwrap. Okay, so at first glance it doesn't change much, but if you split your viewport, I just love this viewport spitting. Viewport spitting. Oh boy, viewport spitting. It's like storage forage or a shored sort. Just ridiculous. Okay, so change your 3D viewport, which is on the left or the right, over to a UV image editor. Now, you can see right here, if you still have your mesh selected, that there are these two mesh sections, which are the unwrapped pieces. Now that's perfect. So, the texture we're going to use here is actually a texture that I have released under a Creative Commons license for the UV unwrapping tutorial, but You can use it for this one too, because it's a tutorial. You can find it in my gallery on DeviantArt under the resources, tutorial resources. Just ignore the stupid ads. They really get on my nerves. And it's not doing anything. Ah, there they are. So it's the unwrapping polka dot texture. It is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike license. Now this means if you use it in a project, you have to say that I made it. You have to link back to this page, and it's non-commercial. And the share-alike is if you do make any modifications, which you can, you have to share it under the same license. So, yeah. Or you can just make your own, which is very easy, but I'm not going to tell you how. Ha ha ha. Too bad I don't have a mwahaha type laugh, like evil genius laugh. But anyway, I'm just going to leave this here because I already have it in my tutorial folder. So go back into Blender if you have been, if you have the same taskbar, full taskbar as I do, which you probably don't. But anyway, in your UV image editor, click on Image and open your texture. Now I have it in my textures folder already there, and just load. So, okay, that's not bad. But what we need to do here is reposition these textures, because I don't want this dot right on the top, because that would just look silly. I tried it. So select your mesh. You can use the same controls in here, except that the L select, you have to press Shift L if you want to select more than one thing. Because in the viewport you can just press L as many times as you want and it just selects everything. And just everything stays selected. If you do this in the UV image editor, it selects one or the other. But anyway, select this part here, the really dense part, which is the top hemisphere, and just bring it right about the center. Yeah, okay, that looks good. It's not super centered, but that'll do. And bring this one all the way over there as well. Right about there. Now I'm having trouble with the positioning here. They are not matching. I'm not liking that. Why is it doing that? Why is it doing that? I have absolutely no idea. Okay, so you probably have this setting activated, but I have to go and change it. I have to go into my user preferences and activate MIP maps, because what I want to show you won't work if I don't. So now that we have our mesh positioned over the texture like we want, in the 3D viewport, press alternate Z to switch to textured mode, and we have a mushroom. However, there's a problem. The bottom faces of this cap are not lining up, so you have to fix that in the UV image editor. Just keep this bottom ring selected and just rotate it until the stuff matches up, which should